So in this movie we're going to look at how to use Asta Site Progress. When you very first get it, it's going to be installed on the menu, and it's going to open, and the very first time you open it you're going to be asked to enter your company details. That's a name and an ID number that have been generated by your supplier, and this is around the commercial arrangement. So you would have been given this in the email confirming your purchase. So you would have also created one user called admin, and you would log in, and there are essentially three parts to the software. There's the user list, so there would be at least one called admin. You can add new ones as you go along, and these are for people who are your colleagues. It would also be other people publishing projects, but also the people, your colleagues on site, who would be adding information by the mobile device, and each user can have a color, and you'll see the use for that in a moment. They can be a publisher. They can only publish what we've done. They can't make new users or change anybody, or they can be an administrator, and they can make those changes to other users. So you can copy those details and email it to Kevin so he knows what to do when he logs into the remote device. We click on apply at each step, and then we look at the project. So we've got some projects already here. There can be a standalone project or an enterprise project. We're going to add another standalone project from a list. So at this point we've got to have access to the data files themselves from this computer. So I don't have to have PowerProject on this computer, but that's the most likely scenario. And then we assign access to the projects that we've got from the users that we've created. So if we open that particular project again, sometimes it can take a while because it's creating a code library with the usernames in the source project, so it will change it very slightly and add a couple of items the very first time you open it. And then it displays the project tree. So we then take items from the left hand side and we drag them across the project tree, and we say, well, we're going to apply that to all of the children. So Ben Taunt will be doing everything, or we're going to have Kevin Pierce also perhaps later on doing the services. So we can apply users to different summary activities of the work breakdown structure in the project, and we click on apply. So we've created users, we've made projects, we've assigned the access to projects, and we would not change this very frequently. But what we would do frequently is we would take those jobs and we would export them. So we can look from this list to see which items are ready for export, which are ready for import, which ones we've archived, which ones have been submitted, and all of them. So if we say which ones are ready for export, here are each of the ones that we've established for each of the people, and it's this list here, and I'm just going to export these two. It's this list that we export to the center that determines how much monthly units you pay for. And we also need to say what is the report date against which we'll be reporting progress. So if we say it's going to be a further week in the future, we set a future date, and then we click on the export button, and it takes this information and it squirts it off to the internet. If there's any problems, you'll be warned, and you'll be able to see a log of those issues. So that information is now sitting on the internet. So you then need a colleague who has got a Apple or an Android device, and I can show you one of those on the screen here. This is my Android phone, and on the Google Play or the Apple Store you can download the Site Progress app. So with the very first time you start it, it asks you for your company ID, your username and password. So the company ID you've been given, the username is what you've created for somebody, and the password. So I say that My company number is this. My username is this. My password is this. And then I click on finished, and I can click on the login button. So that then talks to the internet, the cloud, knows which projects I've been assigned, if there are any there, and it downloads them to the device at this moment. So only at this moment does the device need to have a signal. It doesn't need to have a SIM card, it can just have a Wi-Fi. So then you've got both of the projects that we have exported, and for ease of understanding what's going on, I'm going to also open these projects in Power Project so that you can see each of these in turn. So this is my straightforward project. It's already had it's got a work breakdown structure on the left hand side, and it's previously had progress entered, and I've said I wanted progress up to the 14th of April. So what Site Progress has done, it hasn't exported everything, so it hasn't exported those tasks that are complete. It's only exported those tasks that are not complete and are due to happen in that window. So this task will be there, but this one will not be, although I can also set a window a number of days ahead to capture that, and we'll look at that in a moment. So if I look at my Fallen Meadows project, it then reveals the work breakdown structure in that, and I need to choose one of those, and then it'll list the tasks in each of that section that are applicable. And if I click on the down button there, it's going to list all of the tasks that could be progressed up to this time. If it's got a red circle with a cross in it, it means we should have done it on time. So if we choose that one and we look below, the planned percent complete is 100, and previously we've said we've done 75. So we can move this slider, or we can click here and change the percentage. Down below, which is also scrollable, you can see that we've got an actual start date. We could put an actual finish date in, and we can edit the remaining duration. So in this particular case, I'm just going to slide that along and say we've done 100%, and I'm going to choose another one from the list. So we're doing temporary roads, and we should have finished that, and we have, but we started a day late, so we started on the 3rd of April. So we're going to, through our date picker on the device, we're going to choose a new start date, and we're going to have another end date. So we finished, but we also finished it on the same date. So there's no remaining duration, but I would like to put some notes in. So we have some notes. You can create this list. I'll show you where in a moment. If you click on other, you can just type anything that you want. So we had a slight problem with materials perhaps, and that information will find its way back. So we keep going through the list, saying that we've done certain things, and then we reach the end, and we can click on the, at the top of the screen here, we can click on the folder button to go back to the work breakdown structure. We can click on save, which will just, I mean it is saved, but it'll save it to this device, and then we can look in the substructure. So we've got a number of things to do. Piling should be complete, and it is complete, so we can slide that along, and as well as choosing a note, there's also a section here that says photos attached, and if we click on that with our finger, it brings up the phone's camera. The left hand side here we can pick from the camera roll. On the right hand side here, if we click on that, we can take a new photograph. So we can choose a device. I'm just going to show you my computer screen, which is not very exciting. And we click on take a photo. We confirm that with the tick at the bottom, or whatever your device is offering, and you go back to the application. So it says one photo attached. So we've been through our list to do, and we can then, as well as save it, at some point when we finish we can click on submit, and this is irretrievable. We can't get it back. You can make it available for download again, but this is like sending a fax back. This is something that should happen. Be careful when that's happening. So then at this moment we also need connectivity, and it will send that information back to the internet. So we've got one other project remaining, and I'll open that project in Power Project as well, so we can see what that looks like. And this is more of a residential project. So on the left hand side we've got a number of tasks which have got just independent tasks, and then we have a number of tasks which have got multiple tasks in one row, and has got a plot number, and those color codes are coming out of the build stages library. So this behaves differently in the application. So if I look at the Recton Park side of it, and we click on the construction folder, we've got before a list of activities, but this is in a section called turnaround. There's also a section called tick sheet, but on the turnaround side it's exactly as you've seen before. We have a list of tasks, we choose a task, we say what we've done to it, we leave notes, change the remaining duration, actual dates, take a photograph, whatever is necessary, just as we've done previously. But then there is a tick sheet mode, and if we look at the tick sheet item, we click on the word tick sheet, it's like a tab, and here we have all of the plots, the units which we've given a number to, or a reference number, it could be alphanumeric, in the plot number column, and we can choose a plot from that list and say, well, at this particular date, if it's got a red cross against it, we should have completed it. So we should have done up to first lift brickwork, but we haven't. We've only done up to drains, and we've done 50% of first lift brickwork. So the previous it will tick all previous ones if we ask it to. So we can take a photograph, but we can't leave notes at this stage. So this is plot 30. We should have done up to block beam, but we haven't done the drains, etc. And so this is why it's called a tick sheet. You can say a percentage, but the ideal solution really is you're saying that we've just got a bit of ahead of ourselves here. And so again, we can submit this project when we finish working on it, usually at the end of the week, and that information will now be, it's gone from our phone, it says there are no projects available, and it's gone back into the cloud, and we can then look at that with our site progress. So the next time we open our site progress manager and we look at those projects that are ready to be imported, then it shows me the ones that have been fulfilled and submitted. So I can take each of these individually or collectively, so I can do a whole batch. I can choose a date that we're going to have when we're progressing, and we can click on import. So it's going to take the data that's come from the internet or via the internet from the mobile device, and it's going to integrate it into the project plan, and if there are any issues you get warned about them, and otherwise it's done. So if we look at the projects again briefly, so we've got our Fallen Meadows, so it's created a new progress period because that's what I told it to do, which is, and you can rename that if you want to, obviously. So we might want to call that week 6, for example. In our example, we could change the colors. So it's exactly the same as Power Project, and it's just a shortcut way of entering progress. And then if there are comments that have come back, they're date stamped and added to the list, so you can accumulate those if you've got a task that spans one progress period. And if we had a photograph, then we give you a shortcut link to that particular item. So if we alt click on that link, that's stored on our computer, and there you can see the picture that's come back from my phone. You can have multiple pictures for one task, and they're stored on your computer, not within this file, but there's a hot link to them. So so that's how the information is stored in Power Project. So now you would look at that, you would maybe evaluate it, you might reschedule it and consider what may or may not be done, and change the plan, and then we would republish it. So typically these are on a sort of weekly turnaround, and we might not update the program until we've done that every 4 weeks, for example, but we can see where we're ahead and behind schedule. And if we made a mistake, somebody missed something out, we can obviously make that change in Power Project directly, and we can take those values out. So it's not something we can't change later on. So we've then got a plan that we're due to publish again. So we can go back to Site Progress Manager, and we can look for those jobs that are ready to export, choose the ones to export, choose another date, and off we go again. So that's how Site Progress works, and it's a sort of cyclical process. You wouldn't set users up that frequently unless people went on holiday or something. Projects wouldn't get set up unless you started a new one. You wouldn't change the access unless somebody's role is changing. You would just be at this point where you would choose to export and import various jobs. But there are certain settings that are worth looking at. So there are certain settings that you should adjust before you do any exporting, and that is, we can set first of all export settings. So planned and actual dates and percentages, and planned percentages are exported. That planned percent is at the future date that you choose. You can allow the remaining duration to be editable, displayed, and also to be editable. This is important because the date in the future that we choose through the Jobs tab, we can add a period onto that, because Site Progress is only going to export those things that have not been done and are due to be done up to the date that you set, plus this future window. So if you want to potentially report progress on things ahead of schedule, you might need to open that window up a little bit. So you can change some colours. The help system is very good, so I would encourage you to make further use of that. There are certain import settings, so you're only using one progress period, you're just going to change it, move it along, or you're going to create a new one each time. The tick sheet settings are important. So what's the name of the code library that's going to hold the names for the tick sheet? So if we look back at our residential projects, as I said, these different color codes for the tasks are coming out of the library called build stages. So in our application here, we said exactly that wording with the spaces and the capitalizations and everything. And if we tick the use short code names, rather than it saying 01 oversight as a heading, we will use the short name, and you can shorten that so it doesn't dominate the screen or you don't run out of screen space. So and you can auto complete earlier build stages. So if you tick one, all preceding ones that haven't been done will also be ticked, so it just speeds that up. So the notes section is also important. So this is where you can add a note that will, by clicking on the add button, that will be in the list that you can choose from on the device, as well as at the bottom of the list you've got other, so you can type it in. So there are various other settings. File locations is important. This is just by default, where should I store the files before sending them to the cloud. You probably don't need to worry about that. This is important because this is where the photographs are going to be stored, and they're going to be stored per project and per task, and this is where we can save log files to. So this is the most important to save, and make sure you back that up. So that's Site Progress for you, and I hope you have an enjoyable time using it. Use the help system, have a little look around, call the help desk if you get stuck. That's what we're here for. Bye for now.